company actually was started off 70 years ago as Beacon Plumbing. Two gentlemen, Murray Boroff and Herb Barron, ran Beacon Plumbing until they got into their 60s and for whatever reason decided to split. Herb Barron became Barron Plumbing, and Murray Boroff was going to be Boroff Plumbing, except his daughter says, because he was on the corner of Harvard and Aspinwall Ave, if you say Aspinwall Plumbing, you'll be in the telephone book ahead of him. So that's how Aspinwall Plumbing came about. Now, Aspinwall Plumbing and Herb Barron were only two of probably 9 other plumbing shops that were on Harvard Street in Brookline Village back then, within a 6-block radius. And all the high-end plumbers were right there. Everybody was right there. So Murray Boroff, being in his 60s, I used to see him at the supply house and finally got to be friendly with him, and he was looking for somebody to come work with him and take over his company because he wanted to retire. So I worked with him for a couple of years till finally he had a heart attack and passed away on Flag Day, June 14th. And I ended up purchasing the company from his wife and ran it. And at the time, it was just me and one other guy back in July 8th, 1972. And ever since then, just kind of expanded on it, I guess you could say. And wasn't afraid to try new products. Back then we used to do everything with old cast iron and lead and oakum and had a thread pipe. And now, you know, nobody does lead and oakum. Everything is no-hub pipe. It just clamps together. You know, even copper tubing is being done away with soldering. You just do press-on fittings. And now you got PEX tubing where it's just flexible piping. So the industry over the years has changed dramatically. And you know, even gas piping is all flexible now. We used to always cut threads and had the machines and the equipment, and it made a mess with the oil and everything. It's gotten a lot cleaner and a lot easier for the new guys to actually get into the trade. And overall technology today has totally changed because of the cost of energy. Energy has gone up so much that everybody now is finally realizing that they have to upgrade equipment so that they can put in new stuff. And that's what we do. We've gone from old water heaters to instantaneous heaters and old cast iron boilers. We don't even buy cast iron boilers anymore. Back in the 70s, we used to do gas boiler conversions for the gas company. Killed ourselves. The things weighed 800 pounds, and we were doing one a day, and it was just dirty, sooty, and whatever. Now everything is just, you know, lightweight equipment, high-tech stuff that works very well and is energy efficient. And over the years, as we started to get bigger, and I ended up buying a couple of other companies and got into it. Bought a company on the South Shore because I was in Brookline. In '85, I moved the company to Quincy and purchased another company, Bay State Plumbing. So that's why it's Aspinwall Bay State. And after that, we purchased another company that's heat pump specialties that we took their phone number over, and we do now heat pumps. We got into heat pumps. So the company has expanded from one guy, and back then in '72, we didn't even have trucks. Most of the plumbers all worked out of station wagons. It's very rarely did you see a truck, which is people who really, yeah, well, yeah, that's how it was back then, you know. I graduated from Boston Trade plumbing class in 1966, and I was the last class to go through that actually did lead wiping. Now, most people don't even know what that is, but you know, that's when we used to take lead pipe and actually take hot solder and wipe it around and make the connections. But the year that we were there, the senior year, we got rid of all the old lead stuff to get ready for this new product coming out called copper tubing, which today is everywhere, obviously. But even today, copper tubing is being overshadowed by PEX tubing, CPVC piping, Aquatherm piping. We just did a big project up in Lowell with Aquatherm piping where it fuses together rather than you know, threading it or gluing it. You have this special equipment and it melts the pipe, puts it together, and it's amazing stuff, and it's non-corrosive. It'll be there for 100 years. You know, so we've done a lot of things between radiant heat jobs and high velocity air conditioning. When high velocity air conditioning came out, we were like one of the first companies that actually got into it. In fact, to the point where the manufacturer actually hired me to go around and train other contractors to do that. So overall, it was just another thing. You know, now we have the aquatherm piping, which you have to be trained on, flexible gas piping, which you have to now be trained on. You know, everything now is getting to be the point where it's getting to be very technical and requires more training. And my guys always keep up with the training. We get into it. We find projects that we can use this, like the project we just did in Lowell. We used over 1,000 feet of this piping, you know, and some sizes up to 8-inch pipe. And it'll be there forever. It was on, we had to replace all the HVAC lines for 2 massive buildings that used to be old mills in Lowell. So we've done a lot of projects. We've been on this old house twice with high velocity systems and teaching people how to do that and introducing them to that. So over the years, we've come a long way, but I would say that the greatest thing that I can actually say in all the years is, for me, is having my 2 sons, Mike and Chris, here working with me. You know, a lot of companies, you put parents and kids together and everybody fights. We don't fight. Everybody gets along, everybody does their thing, and it's just, for a father, it's the greatest thing in the world to have 2 sons here working with him. And they share in everything with me, and I'm so happy to see them, and hopefully we might even have a couple of grandkids come up into the business and continue it on even further than that, you know? I mean, we've gone from a station wagon to a dozen vehicles that we have now, and all our vehicles all have the GPS in them now, where we can track them. All the men have the iPads in their vehicles. They can do billing from it. So, I mean, you know, back when, I remember having the first AT&T beeper that I used to put in my pocket. And back then, you would get beeped from an answering service. Then you used to have to go find a phone, call the answering service, and, you know, from there, it went to actual phones. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I had a phone in my car that had this big battery pack, and they had to wire the antenna in. And then before that, we actually had 2-way radios. And you did use to communicate through the radio. So we always tried to keep in touch and somewhat keep modern to what was going on, to the point that we have today, which is pretty high tech. And most of it's beyond me. But again, because I have 2 great sons that know all this stuff, that's how we get into it. So, I mean, that's how we started from pretty much nothing to where we are today. I think what separates us is that we have actual live people sitting here answering phones, and we have more than one. A lot of plumbing companies that are smaller, guys are working on cell phones, and people call the cell phones, the guys are working, they don't answer it right away, they'll call back later. You call us, you get a live person. You know, whether it be for heating, cooling, plumbing, fireplaces, fireplace service, we're here and we're trained to do it. The girls take the calls, they enter them into a computer. We give people the opportunity of picking times when we can come out, what's good for them. All our guys are licensed, and insured. We have all our guys have gone through school for training on all high-tech equipment. They know how to repair it. Whatever we install, we service. We're actually the service agents for 90% of the water heaters made today to companies. We are their service agents. So if you buy a water heater and it breaks within the first year, and you call like A.O. Smith or State or Bradford White and say, hey, my water heater's not working, and in this area, they're going to tell you to call us. We come out and fix it, and we build and manufacture. So we cover such a broad range of things that it's totally different than a lot of people. And we have the people to do the work quickly. You don't have to wait a long time. We have the girls who will schedule the work. And we have enough vehicles to get people out to where they need to be quickly. And that's what happens. When you have a water heater that's down, you don't want to have to chase somebody for 3 or 4 days. You want it done that day if you can get it done that day. And we have the capability to do that.
I would say that hopefully our customer service is what separates us a little bit. So that we like to answer our phones, answer any questions that people might have, kind of lay out the whole process of what we're going to do for somebody before we actually do it, so that they feel very comfortable dealing with us and we're comfortable dealing with them. So I have a degree in mechanical engineering and I'm a professional engineer, so that helps us, especially when doing design build projects, that We have to kind of come into a project where there's not much information and we need a lot of details and a lot of things laid out. I can rely on my background to go through the process and make sure that everything is going to work, whether it be calculations, sizing pumps, sizing boilers, sizing domestic hot water loads, a whole array of things that we can deal with minimal information. So the history of Aspinwall, right, is something that I grew up with obviously my whole life, and then actually coming here and working with family, it's fun for the most part. It definitely has its days, but we all seem to get along really great, and we get to see everybody, see each other every day. We've gotten rid of the old server technologies where you have to be in the office to access things, and now we can access all of our project files from wherever we might be, via phone, tablets, computers, etc. That was a big step because a lot of times you get questions at all hours of the night and you have to have an answer for people just to keep kind of things going and make sure everybody's happy. We're going to deal with any issues that may come up if anything does happen, and we take care of it because we take pride in what we do, and we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable using us and happy using us and will fully recommend us.
One more strong point about the Aspinwall Bay State firm is the fact that we've learned from Lou Mazzini as the owner that we'll never say no to a project. I've done countless projects with the company that other contractors may have walked away from or not been interested in, as far as radiant driveways from the city to the suburbs. We've done a lot of radiant heat projects.
Working for Aspinwall it's like working for family. Everybody gets along. Everybody's a great bunch of guys. We're all hard workers. Everybody puts a lot of pride into their work, everything they have, and we usually come out with a pretty decent job. We pretty much do everything: commercial, residential, plumbing, AC, heat, special waste, you name it, we do it. And it's good to do all that because you get a lot of experience built up, and we have great teachers at the company, and it works out well.